How you doing?
Okay. Good. How are you?
I'm great.
All right. Well, we're nearing the end, but it's a good thing, right? My mother always said, you save the best for last. We're not the last, but we're getting close to the end. Super excited to be here. We've had some great conversations today and heard stories from some great companies like we've had Merck, Verizon, we talked to T-Mobile earlier, Pfizer, having great conversations around having, the challenges with AI-ready data. And, what we'd like to spend the next 15 minutes or so talking about is what really lies underneath that. So I'm Michael Sidicassi. I'm the Vice President of Partnerships at Acceldata. I have with me Ryan McGinty, the Vice President of Data Platforms at VAST Data. Ryan, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Excellent. So, in my experience, a lot of partnerships, they start with a slide and some sort of strategic conversation, but our partnership started with a customer.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, this was a couple of years ago or a year or so ago. We were selling to the same global bank and had a person who raised his hand and said, hey, you two should be working closer together on delivering solutions to us. And I can't think of a better way. I've always seen partnerships in my career where it's 1 + 1 = 3. But typically it's you and I saying that. It's not necessarily always the customer saying it. And when a customer is able to marry solutions together and companies together, I think it's very effective. So as a result, we started looking for other places that we could be doing that. So the partnership between VAST and Acceldata Data has been great.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that the architect of that conversation has now joined the Acceldata team and is an Acceldata evangelist. And I think when, the person that owned the use case around that customer solution is now sitting on our side of the table, that just really brings like a rare customer understanding to the partnership that, really makes me excited and really just appreciate how we can work together there. So that's great.
Yeah, definitely.
Why don't we jump in and speak a little bit about the market? Ryan, you and I talk to large organizations with very large Hadoop footprints all the time. The narrative 5 years ago was, lift and shift to the cloud. We're seeing that that narrative is broken. What are you seeing?
Yeah, similar. We're seeing that definitely was a trend. And I think many in this room probably took advantage of that. There's also this, I wouldn't call it laggards, but I'd say there's companies out there that still have a significant footprint on-prem of Hadoop data, and it's still running data pipelines that are critical to their business. And Hadoop hasn't gotten any more efficient in that 5-year period. So the ability to help customers to dramatically reduce that footprint and show them ways, leveraging both our technologies, that they could maybe send less data into the cloud has been an effective conversation. We've had it now probably 5 or 6 times in the last 3 months. And so I'd call that a trend for sure.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting, what we're seeing is enterprises are really facing pressure from two sides. They have how do they deal with, their current Hadoop environment, but they're also getting pressure, I'm sure, from CFOs, who are saying when, the rising AI bills and when does AI value catch up to that? And, some of our smartest customers now, they're not looking at modernization and AI as 2 separate projects. They're looking at it at the same thing. And they're saying, you know what, if we're going to invest time to change that environment, to make changes to that infrastructure, then we want to build an infrastructure that can actually run AI workloads, not just store them.
Yeah. Well, we met in another customer. We're in the process of finalizing this opportunity, but it was that conversation where they bought GPUs, huge presence still on-prem. Their cloud bills were getting very expensive for the analytics tools that they were leveraging to put the data up there. And we were collectively able to shrink that footprint, enable them to be more efficient. With more footprint, they can bring in more GPUs, but there's proximity to those GPUs, that they have the data close to it. And then with your tools, we were able to identify specific workloads that could be run on-prem in both of our platforms. And I think that's a powerful tool, like having that observability and being able to point out specific workloads. For that customer, was they like having flexibility to say, okay, my data scientists will still have data to work with, and then we'll get them what they need. But those ETL jobs, we could probably run them on-prem with VAST and Acceldata.
Yeah, makes sense. The second trend that we're seeing right now is data repatriation. And so it's an interesting conversation, because I think if you said to people, I'm going to be taking workloads off the cloud and bringing them on-prem, a year ago even, they probably would have looked at you sideways.
Yeah.
And
They might have used another word.
Sorry?
They might have used another word.
Yeah. And now from our conversations that we've heard from some of the investors, like, this is a board conversation now. How are we going to reduce these workloads and take some advantages from it? I'd love to hear what you're seeing in the market on that.
Yeah. The interesting part is that we have these conversations regularly about these data pipelines. It's not new. It's not new technology. I was in the Midwest last week and sat with a customer, and they showed me they had a wall of where their data, how it starts in the mainframe in an application, and then it flows through all these things, and then ultimately got out to the cloud for some processing. And when we had that whole team in the room talking about, like, okay, well, what can we do to make this more efficient? The person who runs their cloud deployment actually jumped in and was like, I think we can make some changes here, and then you'll send me less data. I can actually start running some of these things down here. And it becomes a collaborative effort, whereas 6 months ago, what I noticed was when you would go into that room, everybody would be like this, and they would hold all of their cards close to the vest. Now they see it as a collective, hey, we got to fix this problem from start to finish. It can't just be, I don't care what happens, just get me my data up here. It has to be, CFOs are looking at the totality of these projects and, like, what is the actual overall cost, and what am I getting out of it? And we need to make the entire pipeline as efficient as possible. And so I think our companies are well positioned to continue to have those conversations.
Yeah, and I think data sovereignty is the other through line with that, right? As organizations start to realize how much they're going to have to do with AI and data over, say, the next 10 years, having control of the data is really a strategic asset. It's not just the models, it's not just the data. And if you're giving up control of that asset to hyperscalers or other in the clouds, you're really giving up, a strategic asset that's important to your organization. And, I think, architecturally, that makes it very interesting, because, sometimes the data, you have to control that. It has to stay on-prem. Sometimes the compute has to come to the data. And you've got to have a platform that's open enough that can do AI workloads, that's elastic enough to scale, and that has the ability to do that all without being locked into another vendor.
Yeah.
You know, they want to be open enough that they're not moving from one vendor lock-in to the other.
Yeah, that's definitely data sovereignty is something we talk about frequently, and that's part of the repatriation story of like, wait a second, you know, once they can get a better handle on understanding their data and understanding what data I'm actually sending out here, they can kind of get their arms around it and be smarter about what goes where. And I think it's tools. We have a capability to do tagging and there's some things that are in there that traditional architectures don't enable. And I think having that ability to scale is important as well, and having capabilities that they may be used to having in the cloud and having them on-prem is of interest to them, right? Like we just launched in our latest version a highly scalable vector database, and being able to vectorize that data as it's being ingested on-prem, and then being able to search it in real time is something that they're not. You know, most customers would have to do all that in the cloud, and being able to have all that data with all their customer information on it, and being able within their four walls to make those decisions, I think is powerful.
Yeah. And I think enterprises are having that conversation without even realizing it, whether it's what they're going to do with the legacy Hadoop renewal, whether it's the rising cloud costs. It could be the, you know, AI pilot that isn't launching properly because they don't have the data infrastructure underneath it. That's the conversation we're having, and how to solve those problems.
Yeah. Well, you know, that the kickoff today, conversation around those agents, right? And the data in which they're pulling on, right? You want control. You want to make sure you have full control, especially seeing what those agents were saying on social media.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really important to have a set of data that you trust, and that you know those agents can make the right decisions on.
Yeah, it really is a strategic asset. As we're coming down to our last little bit, I wanted to ask you one final question. What's one final thought, you know, you can leave with everyone today?
Oh, a final thought. Well, I think our companies, you know, your company for sure, as you put on today, enjoys kind of focusing with customers on very difficult problems, and we share that same DNA. We feel at VAST, we feel the same way. Our founders live that every day, sitting with customers, and Renan starts the meeting off usually with, "What can we help you with? What is your hardest problem? And please give it to us, and we will go work with you to help to solve that." And I think the challenge for us is, what I would ask is, please, you know, approach us with your hardest problems, and the two organizations can really dig in and help you solve it, because I know we can. So that would be my ask.
Excellent. Yeah, and I'll add that I think, you know, a lot of the customers here, a lot of the enterprises are really, you know, on a foundation that was from a different era, right? And now the ability to change the foundation that you're going to be running those models on and doing that data work, like the time to do that is now, right? You can leverage some of your existing relationships. You can, you know, take advantage before you get even more spiraling AI costs, and make that change to the foundation today. It's not something that you want to wait, you know, another 2 years to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Ryan, I just want to say thank you for joining us today. Thank you for your sponsorship of Autonomous. Thank you for your team. They're both great in service with our sales team and to our customers. You just can't do a conference like this without the support of a good partner. So thank you. Please, if you have time at the end or before the reception, go up and speak to Ryan and team. I'm sure they'd love to tell you a little bit more about how we work together. And Thank you all for your time. Appreciate it.